Meghan Markle arrived at NBC's Today Show studios in Midtown Manhattan just after 6:30 a.m., flanked by 2 assistants and a PR manager. Her stride was confident, wrapped in a tailored cream blazer and clutching a folder of notes. The public reason for her visit: a friendly conversation to promote a new initiative supporting mothers returning to the workforce. But insiders already knew the real story. The producers of Today had different plans. Savannah Guthrie, seasoned, composed, and sharper than ever, had made it clear to her team, this wasn't going to be another rehearsed publicity puff piece. If Meghan's willing to speak to the public, she should be prepared for real questions, she reportedly told a producer during pre-show prep. The air in the studio was electric. Even the camera crew moved with quiet intensity. Meghan's team handed over a last-minute list of off-limit topics: no questions about Spotify, no questions about her relationship with the royals, and absolutely nothing about archetypes being cancelled. Savannah reviewed the list, raised an eyebrow, and slid it aside. The broadcast opened smoothly, the host smiled, the graphics rolled, and Meghan was introduced with applause. She stepped on set gracefully, shaking hands, exchanging polite smiles. For the first few minutes, everything went according to plan. "Let's talk about your initiative helping mothers re-enter the workforce," Savannah began, her tone warm and friendly. Meghan lit up. "It's something I care deeply about. So many women were pushed out during the pandemic, and they need support rejoining an economy that isn't always kind to caregivers." Savannah nodded. "Absolutely. It's critical work." She paused. Then, her tone subtly shifted. "That said, Meghan, this initiative comes during a time when several of your projects have come under scrutiny. Do you feel the public's perception of you has changed?" Meghan blinked, caught slightly off guard. "I think people are more aware of the complexities behind public figures," she replied carefully. "I've never tried to please everyone, my focus is on meaningful impact." Savannah leaned in slightly. "But when multi-million-dollar deals fall apart, and platforms like Spotify publicly cut ties, people wonder. Was there a disconnect between message and execution?" Meghan's smile faded. "I'm not here to relitigate business deals," she said, voice calm but tense. "I'm here to speak on behalf of women who don't get these kinds of opportunities. But don't you think it's fair to ask if these high-profile failures reflect something deeper, perhaps a misalignment between brand and reality?" Savannah asked, her words crisp. A long, uncomfortable silence followed. The crew could feel the atmosphere change. Meghan's team shifted nervously off camera. One whispered into a headset, "We need to redirect. She's not going to like this." Meghan drew a breath. "This line of questioning is exactly what silences women. I'm not a brand, I'm a human being doing my best." Savannah didn't flinch, and many would agree with that. But when your public presence is built on visibility, transparency becomes part of the deal. The comment hit hard. Meghan's lips parted, as if to fire back, but she hesitated. Then, as if making a split-second decision, she began to unclip her mic. Off camera, chaos broke out. Producers waved frantically. A stagehand mouthed, "We're still live." Meghan stood up anyway, the wire tugging at her lapel. "I won't be ambushed," she muttered under her breath, loud enough to catch Savannah's mic. Savannah, poised, turned slightly to the camera. "We'll be right back after the break." But they weren't. As Meghan walked off, the feed abruptly cut to a black screen, then to a frantic set of commercials. The Today Show hadn't seen a moment that raw, that live, in years. And it wasn't over yet. Meghan Markle had barely disappeared behind the curtain when her team's phones exploded with texts, alerts, and panicked calls from media managers across both coasts. Her PR handler, red-faced and muttering under his breath, locked himself in a side hallway trying to get crisis control in motion. "We need a statement now, before this spirals," he hissed into the phone. But Meghan wasn't ready to talk. She sat stiffly in the green room, legs crossed, jaw tight, eyes scanning her reflection in the mirror with unreadable emotion. One assistant gently offered her tea. Meghan waved it off. Meanwhile, back on set, Savannah Guthrie remained composed, though visibly steeled by what had just transpired. The producers returned from commercial with a carefully rehearsed transition, showing a pre-recorded segment about back-to-school savings. But in the control room, no one was watching. Everyone was too busy scrambling to respond to the bomb that had just gone off. Social media caught fire within seconds. Clips of Meghan storming off aired on TikTok, X formerly Twitter, and Instagram Reels. One shaky phone recording taken by an intern on the side of the studio floor had already hit 500,000 views. Hashtag Meghan v Savannah, hashtag Today Show Meltdown, and hashtag Duchess Drama began trending before the hour was up. At NBC headquarters, senior executives convened a closed-door meeting. Legal, PR, and talent relations were all on the line. Some felt Savannah had pushed too far. Others argued she had simply done her job. She didn't cross any lines, a veteran producer insisted. She asked tough but fair questions. Meghan walking out was her choice. Still, there was undeniable concern. NBC had booked Meghan months in advance, part of a broader attempt to rehab her image post-Spotify, post-archetypes, post-disappointments. Now that plan was in ruins, and the headlines weren't flattering. Outside, a growing cluster of paparazzi and news vans began gathering along Rockefeller Plaza. Meghan's SUV had been pulled into the underground garage, but everyone knew she'd have to leave eventually. The whispers of tension between the Duchess and the press had just erupted into full-on combustion. Inside, Meghan finally spoke. "She set me up," she said quietly. "That wasn't an interview. It was a trap." Her publicist nodded cautiously. "We can frame it that way. Say it was a hostile environment, that you were misled about the tone of the segment. We'll call it media ambush." "No," Meghan snapped. "Call it what it was, an attack disguised as journalism." Back in the hallway, Savannah finished her final segment, then walked calmly toward the dressing rooms. Her producer trailed behind her, cautioning her not to confront Meghan, but she ignored him. At Meghan's door, Savannah paused, knocked once, and entered. The room fell silent. "You didn't need to do that," Meghan said coldly, standing up. "I didn't attack you," Savannah replied evenly. "I asked questions. Hard ones, yes, but the ones people are already asking. This wasn't about people, it was about ratings. And you got your moment," Meghan said, grabbing her coat. Savannah met her gaze. "Moments pass, reputations don't. Think about that before your next exclusive." Neither woman blinked. Then Meghan swept past her, team in tow, disappearing down the hallway. By noon, news alerts were everywhere. Meghan Markle walks out of live interview. Today Show turns tense as Duchess clashes with Guthrie. The videos now had millions of views. Pundits were lining up with opinions. And through it all, the world watched, split as ever. Some praised Savannah for holding Meghan accountable. Others condemned her for cornering a guest. But one thing was clear. The moment was unforgettable, and Meghan Markle had once again become the story. Iska I prompt Nicolo Auer highlights main ho jo amazing ho inspiring ho.